Welcome. Nice to be on stage. Nice to see you guys here. This is Extreme Agile UX, it's called. I am called Staffan, like a big staff.
And my name is Johan, like a big Johan.
Yeah, like John with an extra, some weird syllable. Yeah. We're going to talk about things we do. We're a small team, and so and we make some artifacts for you guys. They look like this. These are, if you've seen these are sample apps for learning Cascades. So tiny, really simple samples, almost silly sometimes, because they're so simple. But they all have like a small point, something to learn, if it's about making a sound or animating some text or something like that.
This is Staffan on his spare time. He not only does visual design, he designs instruments, and he's grinding away on some metal here to make an instrument that ultimately sounded pretty bad.
Yeah, but it is fun to grind.
Yeah. And I too make instruments on my spare time, and this instrument sounded pretty bad.
Yeah.
So we keep our day jobs. What we do is that we work in a small team, and we use an agile method called scrum. There are a few key features to Scrum, and one of them is the stand-up. Every morning at 9:45, we stand in a circle and we answer 3 questions. What did I do since yesterday? What am I planning to do today? And do I have any blocking items? Is there something that I can't do because I'm blocked by something?
So, can you identify the person that is blocked by something? So, I am complaining about a server that is down, and I'm not able to connect, and it's something wrong, maybe with my Mac or with my configuration or whatever. And so Per at the edge is like, oh no, that server is down. Didn't you get that memo? It's going to be down all day, so do something else. So the stand-up helps me be productive and get help from other team members.
Yeah.
And also it's a source of team building or camaraderie building. Or IT guys can be pretty shy and sit mostly at their desk, but gather people in a circle once a day, and you'll build some friendship, and that's nice.
Friends are nice.
Yes.
But you can do this in a wrong way, because the key is to be a small, efficient team, preferably cross knowledge. So we have designers in our team, we have coders.
And you see the guy at the far end, Christian. Will you please stand up, Christian? Look, there's Christian. He's also on the team, also with some other skills, some management ninja skills.
You got managed ninja skills.
Yeah. And we're about 8 people, so you see only half the circle here. But I was at this one place in Norway where they were 40 people, and they tried to do this stand-up routine. They read about it in a book. We should do this, stand in a big ring, and each say what we do. And they also had another office on the other side of the globe that they dialed up, so 20 more people in another country, and they did the stand-up. And they were like, Scrum sucks. This is a waste of time. And yeah.
And doing like this, it probably is.
Yeah.
And the other thing I find that is very useful in Scrum is at the end of each sprint, which is the iteration that we use, We have 2-week sprints, and at the beginning we say we're gonna deliver these features. A product owner comes and say, I want all this, and we say we can commit to these. And at the end of the sprint, they should be all there, and we'll make a deliverable. We don't necessarily need to deliver it, but it's good to have something that you could deliver every 2 weeks. And also at the end, we have a retrospective, and we look back on the 2 weeks of work we just did, and we see what was good and what was bad, and we discuss that in the team, and we put post-its on a note. And by the end of that, we take all the things we thought were bad, and we try to use that information to make it I'm sorry, ridiculously photogenic conference guy. I'm trying to be that.
It's a good meeting. We usually have cake also.
Yeah, we have cake, and we discuss what stuff we can improve. And an agile process that doesn't try to improve itself is missing the point somewhat.
This is Johan's favorite part. Is this meeting, which is an hour long or so.
No, it's not just because of the cake.
No, but
sorry. We try to impress each other, so it's different all the time. Until this guy came up with, no, it was Per. He's not here. He made carrots and cucumber, and so we only had fruits to eat.
Yeah.
So, not well. So good.
But
cake,
say that the server is down, and we're at this at the everyday. You just want to get stuff done, so you work around the server. But at these meetings, we kind of ponder. So how can we make sure that never happens again? And do we need to switch companies where we have servers, or do we need to do our own hosting? And how can we work better with the server people or whatnot?
How do we prevent that from happening again?
And also, if someone does something good, like Thorsten says something really inspiring, it's nice to share that with the group, and so people can get that energy that everyone needs.
Yeah.
So both the good and bad and the change from the retrospective. That's good.
So we're going to have a case where we talk about one sample, which will be downloadable with the presentation from the website. So you can have the source code for the final version, or the final version for the presentation. And we're going to show how we use agile methods to iterate the design, not the code as much, but just the design, to make it usable and pretty. So what started out was that someone suggested that we should make an application that plays sounds for meetings. So a cricket sound if it goes quiet, or a drum rim shot for funny jokes, and a golf applause for someone that made a good point.
RIM is a big company, so there's always lots of meetings.
Yeah, you could be on the phone all day if you want to.
Yeah.
So this idea was given to me, and I said, I'll hack up a prototype. Cascades is very easy to use, and you can do stuff real fast. So what I did was that I set out to do this, and I went to developer.blackberry.com, and I downloaded one of the sample applications which had sound integration in it already. It's convenient because I did this, so I know how it works, and I hope it will be convenient for you guys if you want to have a starting point. There are different sample applications, and all of them are probably a good starting point for something. So I threw out all the graphical assets and the QML, and I implemented the UI I had, that all the functions that I wanted it to have. So at first, I just added a segmented control where you can choose the different sounds. See, there's not a lot of code, and it's almost understandable.
So what kind of code is that?
Well, you just say, I want 3 options, and I want to have rim shot on one, and the cricket and the golf applause.
Okay, but I mean, it doesn't look like C++ or...
No, it's QML. It's a markup language, sort of like HTML.
Okay.
I don't. Why do you ask me this? You should know this.
I'm TV presenter guy.
Oh.
TV shop guy.
Sorry. And then I added a container with an image button. It has 2 images, one when it's not pressed and one when it's pressed. So I just threw this together. It took like 5-10 minutes. And then I spent half an hour trying to find good sounds on the internet, which we later have exchanged for sounds that we legally can use. So I took this, and it's way easier to illustrate an idea when you have an application instead of just talking about it. So I came with this and said, and showed it to Staffan and said, could we do something with this? I like it, and it could be something. And Staffan took over.
Yeah. It works, but it kind of hurts my designer eyes, especially the button in the middle.
Yeah, you can't see it, but it's cut off pretty bad.
They can see
the shadow.
It. Yeah.
I thought it was just a blurry screen. Sometimes you have to accidentally do stuff like that for a designer to start working on your stuff.
Yeah,
so I made this. This looks fine. No, it does not look fine. And then, well,
such a troll. I'm going to talk about design bugs. Just like you can't write code without introducing some bugs, you can't design stuff without introducing design bugs. And to know if you have code bugs, you compile, and your compiler says, there's a bug. And to know if you have design bugs, you test it on people. And so first stop is to test it on myself. It's very quick. So I pretend I'm in a meeting, I have my coffee, I use it in one hand. I realize I can't really reach stuff. I can't reach the button, and I certainly can't reach the segmented control
exactly
at the top. These screens are very tall, so you don't want to put interaction way up the top. You can put like a title and information, but preferably no buttons and common everyday interaction. And you want to be able, at a meeting, you want to be able to use this with one hand. Like, you want to look cool when you use this, not struggling with or using 2 hands. So we had to redesign it. So and the first design typically always fails. There's always something wrong. So here's a colleague coming back from lunch, and so I'm there saying, "Hello, try this app." And he looks a bit. He's not happy. He looks like he's confused, which is when you see that confused look, you know that you have failed and you need to redesign. This is a common mistake, the arrows. When you get this look, it's common enough that he hasn't found some of your functionality. So you add an arrow pointing to the functionality that someone missed. And the problem with arrows is that you know exactly what you want to tell with the arrow, but when people see the arrow, as in this vehicle here, someone has obviously had small arrows, and then people didn't use the vehicle like intended, so they made the arrows bigger, and they color-coded the arrows so no one could miss them and no one could misunderstand them. Problem with arrows is that they are very ambiguous, and I have no idea what these arrows do or what they signify. Anyone have any theories? Green. Green is go.
Go where? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just found this before we traveled here, but the guy who operated the machine wasn't there. So when we travel back, we're going to go back to the place where we found the machine, and we're going to see if the guy's there, and then we're going to ask him.
Yeah.
Because this is a mystery.
Yeah. So if you add arrows in your user interface, make sure that you test it on someone so that you know that it works, because it usually doesn't work. It may work, but yeah. And when you test it on people and they're struggling and they're suffering, don't help them, because they don't need help. It's the UI that needs help. Ask them instead, what are you thinking now? If you help the guy who's struggling, you're just destroying the test for yourself. Helping one guy instead of, and destroying it for millions and millions of people that are gonna look like that when they use your app. So when you want to redesign something, it really helps if you have alternatives. And if you want to have a good discussion, coming with, if you have one design and give it to people and say, hey, do you like this? Or what, can I change it? And people usually rather polite and say, no, that's fine. I get that. And you're like, well, use it. And they're like, oh, sure, perhaps. No, but so these sketches took like 20 minutes to draw. And when you have these sketches, you can, and bring them to your colleague, you can have like, oh, I like, your colleague can say, oh, I like the red thing there, and and I like the pictures here, but I don't like that thing. And you can get a good discussion. I was at this one meeting where a design agency made a logo for a company. And the design agency had brought one suggestion, one design. So, haha, here's our design, it's glorious. And our boss hated it. I'm like, no, it's not glorious. I hate it. What's wrong with it? I don't know, I hate it. And so, if they had brought a few more designs, maybe some ugly, maybe some red, maybe something else, they might have gotten the contract, but at that point, there was no option, and so they were out, and some other agency was in instead.
The more you can remove the abstract things when you discuss, the easier it is to talk around things.
Yeah.
And so if you say, I wanted more blue metallic shiny, that would be easier if you say, like the Ford that's parked outside, that kind of shiny. So exemplify stuff.
Yeah.
Even if you bring one that's worse, it helps.
Yes, that is true. Even if you bring one that's worse, that helps. I'm just repeating for the sake of the audio. So ergonomy, or do you say ergonomy? Anemone. So the first design, you can do this in BB10. We have core controls that can sit at the top, but usually they sit at the bottom because the BB10 device, it was born with a big, tall screen, and so the OS is made to fit. Unlike some other OSs that were born smaller and then are now taller, it's still stuck with navigation at the top, with impossible to reach. And speed. You notice the old design here has like tabs down at the bottom, and then you push a big play button. So that's 2 clicks for everything. But this design has 1 tap, and then it plays. So that's faster. So tap to play, and then if something is playing, do you tap to stop, or do you tap to pause? Or does tap do nothing while something is playing? Or tap plays the sound again, or a variant of the sound? I think all of these options are good and viable. And so I think you will have to just go with your gut feeling and do that, and then test it on people and see where they frown and see where they hesitate and see where they tap and look surprised, and ask them, are you surprised? What surprised you? And then you know if you did something that was intuitive or if you did something that was super clever, like tap and hold to play, like the dead man's grip, and then release to pause or something, you know. In your mind, it may feel very intuitive. Scrolling. Does this scroll, this UI? There's nothing that indicates that it scrolls, but there are only 3 sounds, so maybe it scrolls. I like to, see what I did there? I made the items taller so that one is cropped. And that's a good sign to display that this is indeed a scrolling list. But it comes at a price. There's no sloppy tap if you have a scrolling, like a user interface that both scrolls and taps. I've seen my kids use touchscreen devices, and they're 3 years old. I have one approximately. And half the time when she's starting an app, she accidentally swipes to another page instead. And so she goes back and tries it again. So I think literally half the time. So the sloppy tap, we were kind of scared that if someone made a joke and you wanted a and you got an accidental scroll first and then the too late, that would not be good.
In humor, timing's everything.
Yeah. So we thought this is intuitive, it's easy, it's fast, but it's not safe. So we went with this instead. This is the design. And maybe it will change after we do additional testing, but this is the design right now. And for adaptability, this is a good design. It's good to use the standard controls because they will adapt with new screen sizes as we publish new phones. There will be a phone with a physical keyboard. And so there will be, if you use the standard controls, there will be minimal work to make the app work with the new phones. So features.
Yeah. When you do user testing, you don't only get user testing, you get feature requests as well. So by looking at the application, could we have some features you would like to have in this application?
Just that last one where you have buttons to select. If you're not pressing the play button and you do a horizontal swipe, you could change the sound.
So your suggestion is to enable so that you can have a horizontal swipe to change to another sound.
Right, with the button still at the bottom acting as a legend for where you can go.
Nice. More features?
With the ability to add custom sounds.
Yep.
With the ability to add custom sounds and user?
I was just thinking, you still got 2 button presses. You go select the sound and then play.
Yeah.
You have 3 sounds and timing is everything in humor. Wouldn't a one-press instant sound be a preferable UI choice?
So you're questioning the design and you're saying that there's still the problem with the 2-button click and timing is everything. And yes, you're correct. There's probably a better design there somewhere. Sorry?
This is an example of bad suggestion, but when I always get pinch to zoom on the picture.
So you're suggesting pinch to zoom on the picture?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then one more?
I can solve his problem with a long press on the selection button. Press and hold on the selection button.
Press and hold on the selection button to do?
To actually play that sound.
To actually play that sound, yeah, okay. So those are some nice features. And when we've done testing, we've gotten these suggestions and those.
Yeah.
And those, but you can't cram all the features in.
Yeah. This is the do not put too much junk in the trunk image.
Yeah. So we decided to go with 2, record your sound and in-app purchase of sounds. And maybe that's one too many, but that's what we're doing anyway.
Yeah, those were the features that were mostly suggested, and thinking that we could sell this application, it's wise to have the 2 features that people would want. Not that we're going to sell this application, but the source code for this application is available with the presentation.
Yeah.
Just for your information.
Yes. No one's making any money on it now.
So
it's a shame.
How do you use Agile workflow to add these features in?
Well, we guess at the beginning of a sprint. Are you checking me?
Yeah.
We guess at the beginning of a sprint how long it will take to make these, and so maybe we'll do one in a sprint, and make sure that we have something that runs at the end of the sprint. Yeah, that's how we do it. So now we're doing the demo. Can we switch to the phone?
Right.
Ta-da! That is nice.
Yeah. So we have the features, the normal features where you choose the sounds, and you can play them. And then we added the 2 new features with as little impact to the original UI as possible, so we don't add a huge cabin in the back.
Yeah, you don't want to clutter the UI, but there are some features that you want to have, and then you can use this tab overflow functionality that you see at the bottom corner.
So I have it here. You can also peek. We're talking a lot about peek today.
Yeah.
And you can choose. You can see the 2 new features at the bottom here that we choose not to have here. So you can access them, but it's not the everyday use case. So you have the store where you can buy more sounds, and we have the record your own sound functionality, which hasn't been implemented yet. And you can move back to the rim shot or the clap. Yeah. Imagine getting that in a meeting. Yeah?
It's a meager clap. Can we get back to the laptop?
Thank you.
Thank you. And so, funny thing is, I drew on paper this thing with tabs for Johan. And when he was done, I was like, look, I made it. He had done it not with tabs, but with actions. And actions are rather similar, so it's an easy mistake. And you see tabs here to the left and actions to the right. If tabs is like a place where you go. When you press a tab, you go to a place, and then you can do interaction there. You can push the big play button. Actions are something you do right away when you click them. So if we were to do this app with actions, it would look like the thing on the right, where you tap on the icon below, and it plays when you do that, and also shows the image. There's always different ways to make a UI. And we also have the action overflow on the right. You saw the tab overflow on the left, and there's an action overflow on the right. They work kind of similar. Here are some things that we found.
Yeah. We don't claim that user testing can solve everything, because some things are too hard to put to words on, and there's things that we found and we learned, and some things that you can avoid in the beginning without doing any user testing. And Staffan has made a list. They're not really part of the Agile process, but it's good to start out with not doing common mistakes. So we listed them here with examples, so you can avoid them.
And we hope it's entertaining, even though it's not Agile. So. We're going to do a game here. We're going to clap a song, and so I'm going to demonstrate on my Johan here, on my programmer, and I'm going to clap a song on his back, and see if he can recognize the song. You ready, Johan?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So what was that song?
The Indiana Jones theme?
No. Did anyone hear what song that was? It's Imperial March, yes. And so now I want you guys to find someone close to you and think of a song first, and then do the clap thing and have them answer. Can you do that for me? Everyone giggles. I'm like,
Well,
please. No. Okay.
I think what the sound you're looking for now is.
That is the sound, yeah. Okay, so you don't trust me and you don't trust people in the room. That's okay. Okay, so it's America after all. But usually when you get people to do this, they usually think that it will be pretty easy for them to convey the song and that people will be able to guess. But the statistics show that it's pretty darn hard because clapping is ambiguous. It is not as intuitive as you would think. I think Imperial March may be one of the anomalies because it has such a distinct rhythm.
So why did you choose that for an example?
I don't know. I like that song. But if you want to find out if it's the same with making a UI. You have this idea of how the app works, and it's really clever, and you put some buttons and some drop downs and some UI on the screen, and you give it to someone else, and they have no clue about how it works, and they look at the buttons and they try to infer how it works. And the only way to see if it's intuitive is to do that test. And so we're doing this test. And you can't test on the same guy over and over, because as soon as you test it on that guy, he's destroyed. He cannot be tested on. He will get it every time. So you will get lots of false positives there. So we both commute. We live along the same train route. And we have like 15, 20 minutes of train commute every day. And it's perfect to do a quick test on the commute because people are trapped at the train and they have nothing to do. And so if you ask them, do you have something to do or can I make a test on you? They're happy to oblige.
It usually says it's testing of a UI in a phone, not a test.
Yeah, we're careful to say we're not testing you. We're testing our crappy design to find out what's crap about it. And so if you don't get it, it's not your fault, and we're not testing you. Still, people want to pass the test and like, damn it. And and people are polite and say, it's really nice. Very intuitive. And still they're like,
don't forget to take notes.
Yeah. And when you've done this test, you always feel really psyched because you always identify some problem and some frown or some surprise that you want to fix. You want to nail that thing so no one has questions. And you see the problem and you go home and you sleep over it and you go back to work, full of energy, and I'm going to fix this thing. Color coding is interesting. This is from a cafe, and I know the text is small, but it's a list of beverages. And the designer of this app thought that I will color code the beverages so that red is super hot and cold is blue. And so you can see Ice Cafe, which is iced coffee, in the middle because it's very blue, and there are some cold beverages further down. But color coding also can make a UI ugly, tragically. So as soon as you start color coding, you're on a path that usually leads to some kind of ugliness. It's almost unavoidable. And if you find yourself using these colors, like happily typing in FF000, you are on the path to ugliness. And get someone to fix those colors for you. Oscar is very good with colors. He can get you some really nice hex values if you need them. This is what I would do in case I used the standard list items of BB10. I would not color code stuff. I would number code. And this is also hard to read on the screen, but if you hold it in your hand, the numbers here to the right are degrees of Celsius, and it's even hard to read for me. 67 Celsius, it says on the affogato. What's that?
It's coffee.
It's coffee, okay. This is the color wheel. It was invented by a German dude 200 years ago, and it's good because it shows the relation between colors. So red or rot is next to orange, which means they look good together because they're neighbors. And if you're using fewer colors, it makes your UI look more elegant and simple and clean. And so with this new knowledge, is there anyone that can suggest how to make this UI even uglier? Yellow. Did I hear yellow from the audience? Yellow. Yellow. And green. Green. Someone said green.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Okay, so we're color coding the headers green and the background yellow. And now you can see. Now we're grooving. And Oscar shrugs. It's technically possible to make the icons down at the bottom to make them any color you like, but it won't be any color Oscar likes because he only likes the white gradient that it's supposed to be. And yeah, so don't color code these. They're supposed to be white. Some people are colorblind. We know one guy is colorblind as a bat, Alex Saunders. Yep. You've seen him on stage. So
he can sing, but he can't see colors.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like to him. So he has this strategy that many colorblind people have to memorize the position of the colors. So red is always on top. But some countries even put numbers there, so it's easier for the colorblind. So if they're stressed out and they fail to remember, at least they know stop is a stop. This is from a mall in Malmö where we work in Sweden. And the doors, only half of the doors open, and someone put a green dot on one of them.
Yeah, they want you to enter through the green dots and not enter where there's red dots. So you get a nice flow when you go in and out of the mall.
And this is what it looks like for someone who's colorblind. And it's so funny to see people fail.
They forgot to add the positions there.
Yeah, there's no position coding, no shape coding, no text or anything. There's just failure.
This is like 200 or 300 meters from that strange vehicle with the arrows.
Yeah. And this is outside our office. Alignment matters. How you align stuff is really, really important. And this guy is going to get a ticket. And it's the same with UIs. Alignment matters. So can anyone see which of these UIs will get a ticket? Both of them. Shame on you. I'm very proud of one of them.
I agree the center text is a little goofy, but the switch and buttons still don't vertically have a problem.
Ah, okay. So you're saying the buttons, they're a problem with the alignment on the buttons. Yes. Yes. Vertically.
The baseline
Yeah?
Where you have word buttons, where you have word off, the baseline of that text should line up.
Ah,
That's your mistake in your one you're proud of.
thank you. I will strive. It'll be corrected to the next on the next sprint. And so, what I tend to do though is I tend to introduce some kind of ruler. I use a book, or if I'm in Photoshop, they have these rulers in the software, so I can like pixel align stuff, and that makes the UI more calm and less busy to look at. When you're buttoning a shirt, also, alignment is very important. And the good thing is that in Momentix, the tool for
Developers.
you can talk about.
Yeah, Momentix is the tool we use when we develop stuff in Cascades. And you can arrange the window so that you have a preview on the right and left, and the code for the UI in text form. So you can change values, so you'll be able to get feedback directly, so that stuff are correctly aligned. It's also good if you have your designer breathing down your neck, sitting behind you, that it's visually rewarding to change values.
It's nice to be like and watch it change. I like that quick turnaround. So we're aligning a lot at my office. Get closer is about when your father takes a photo of you, he goes way back because he wants all of you and your shoes. And so be careful at the stage not to fall off. But when a photographer takes a photo, he goes close. He gets way close. And not even the tip of his beard is showing here, or the tip of his hair. He goes very close. And then you don't get like the garbage can in the background or the printer. You just get beautiful face. And so this is what an intern did at RIM. This is the first version of the calculator on the playbook. And this is what our star designer did. He got a bit closer. Because the playbook has has an outer edge, a bezel already, and so you don't need these multiple bezels. And personal space is important. You don't want to be too close to people when you speak, because it makes people uncomfortable. And this is Marcus at my office, is very uncomfortable. And it's the same, especially big objects like the big play button. It needs some elbow room. It does not sit comfortable so close to other elements. It needs some personal space. So I'm moving it up, and it feels much better. It feels more relaxed in that space. And so this is an app that Johan made to provoke me. And what he did is he put the buttons down below way too close to the edge. So what I did is I made the buttons a bit smaller so that they could get some elbow room, get some personal space around them. And see the other thing that I did here? I removed one of these, one of the texts. Yeah, I removed one of the. If there's any possibility to remove stuff from a screen, it will always look more elegant, simple, and clean, and look better. And so I combined the two texts to the title, and that makes it look better. And if you're using a media application that has photos or video, use the dark theme, or the dark, what's it called?
Dark theme.
Theme.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's for.
Yeah. So in your Imperial March way, don't be afraid to go over to the dark side.
Yeah. And lastly, the usage of lots of font can be fun. The look on your face is priceless, Oscar. But if you can get it down to 1 or 2 fonts on a page, it'll always look better and more elegant. And so that's what I try to do. And if you iterate a lot, you will get success. And if you follow the tips and advice that we have, it'll be good, I think.
And you will turn the first test subject's frown upside down.
Yeah.
See how happy he is.
Yeah. This is a total fake picture. But it illustrates the point. So do you have questions? We have a few minutes for questions. Or do we?
Yeah.
Who has the first question? Yes, sir.
You, in the beginning, when you were talking about the scrolling and you going through the iteration of the app, you mentioned that it was unclear whether or not the screen scrolls, and so one of the strategies there was crop. I've had this argument with people that work on scrolling, and it seems to me that with the amount of phones now, scrolling is intuitive, and scroll bars on websites, on phones and stuff, when you're trying to look at them, feel like people don't need them anymore. So do you think it's absolutely necessary to have some sort of visual indicator that something scrolls, or is it enough to just make something scrollable and let the user find out?
So the question is, nowadays it's common enough for things to scroll, and is it absolutely necessary to use these techniques to crop things, to visualize the scroll? I would quote Steve Krug and say, "Don't make me think."
I understand that.
But I see your point, and
The point is that we learn things like, for example, a triangle as a play button. 100 years ago, that wouldn't have worked.
yeah,
Everyone's going to get that, but now you don't have to explain it.
yeah,
I'm suggesting that with scrolling, we've gotten to the point where you don't have to give a visual extra clue.
yeah,
You do often have to let the user know where the end is expected to be. So if you have something that's 1,000,000 times longer, he doesn't know that versus something that's only twice the size of the screen.
And the other thing you're forgetting is that actually direction of scrolling is not awesome though, because you can scroll both horizontally and vertically. And showing the crop also applies direction.
So I'm just repeating here for the sake of, I forgot what you said, but but you said it's nice to show also the direction of the scroll, and you do this with the crop. And I see your point, and I think people will definitely figure it out that it scrolls. But they may have like half a second of awkwardness if they try to scroll it in the wrong direction, or try to tap something and it scrolls. So
It's becoming more popular to just take a few pixels to have an indicator rather than the old scroll bar. And you need that if the user deserves feedback about how large the thing is.
so you're saying it's more common now to have use a few pixels to show
Current position.
the current position. Yeah. So you know how long the list is.
But
Yeah.
that often is, but I agree that that's an important thing, but you can bring that out on the scroll action. You don't put that positional thing in there all the time, because again, the issue I have with the crop, or the issue I have with the scroll bar that's visually there all the time, or any other indicator, is that it takes away from the other aspects of the design.
Yeah.
The screen looks better with 3 images fitting nicely, rather than having one image pre-cropped on launch.
Yeah.
You know, that's the issue.
Oscar?
Yeah, a good thing, instead of adding visual affordance like graphics to the layout, one idea is to do it on the entry animation to show if it's scrolling, for example.
So what Oscar said was that on the launch of the application, you do an animation to indicate which way you can scroll.
So we should introduce Oscar at this point. Oscar is the are you the art director or lead designer for the core controls?
Area design lead.
Area design lead. So,
Sweden, no.
yeah. Sir?
So you guys seem to enjoy kind of a nice working relationship in your workflow
Well, we sit in the same team. Not Oscar though. He's one of the higher ups. But but he's in the same building.
Yeah.
But me and Staffan and the other guys, we're 8 people in our team, and we'll tell each other every morning what we're doing with the Scrum stand-ups, and you get a feel for the problem the other persons are having, and it starts to get to a point where you communicate more freely, and so I've been in a situation that you have. As a coder, I'm sitting and someone sends me a design they made 2 months ago, and they don't know anything about the platform, and lots of stuff aren't possible to do, and I can't get a hold of them, so I just try and do the best thing I can. And that's not fair to the design or to the developer or the designer or the product in the end. So I don't really know how to solve that in any other way but then to actually talk to the person implementing it, making a relationship.
Sitting.
More specifically, what I was asking is, do you guys just do, do you do the standard wireframes and then do like a working 5-story board with theme in? Do you start with the designer that goes first? And I'm just curious about it.
So you're curious if we do wireframes? Yeah, where does it start? Well, in our team, it usually starts with an idea of what are we trying to teach? What's the new API that we want to teach? And then Johan makes something, just throws something out there, and I don't like it, but I don't know what I would do instead, and so I sleep on it, and I get back, and I'm like, can we do this? That'd be fun. And then we change it, and it's fun instead. And so it's usually lots of back and forth, and some of the time they go, well, that is fun, but it would make the code look horrible and would be very, very hard to read. And so we iterate back and forth. So could we do this instead? Yeah, that'd be both fun and look good, and also the code would look good for that. So there's lots of back and forth to get to the code looking good also.
I don't think we ever done wireframes.
No.
No wireframes. Cascades, you can throw stuff together in Cascades pretty quickly, so it's probably easier to do it in Cascades directly than to do wireframes.
Well, often I would go to Photoshop and make something pixel perfect there, which everyone is trained not to do because it's a waste of time and the design will never work. But I sit so close to these guys, and honestly, I'm faster in Photoshop than I am in Illustrator, so it's quicker for me to do it that way.
That's what I was trying to get at, like getting the space between the idea in your head and something that's recorded that other people can interpret is a really, 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 it's a scary place.
Yeah.
If you put a tool in front of me that keeps me from doing that, I've lost money.
Yeah. With the communication is really hard. That's why we advocate to have like the design live running in code and change it. But usually we have such small apps that they are easy to change. If you're making like a big bank app or something like that, maybe it's better to plan longer ahead. But iteration is nice, when you start with the core thing and build something that works, and even as it has like a silly subset of the functionality that you want in the end, it works, and you can test it and you can iterate it, and you got something that is good to build on before you build all the functionality and you find out that the core structure does not work for people.
So,
I would say, do you guys played with Transformers, anything when you were a kid? No one in America. Okay, so it's a Swedish thing then.
Transformers are Swedish.
Yes. So there are some Transformers that you can combine to build a big transformer, And that's what it feels like to be in a small cross-functional team, that you get this, you got awesome power to do anything.
Do you ever run into sort of lowest common denominator design by committee issues? You know, where you're sort of always trying to, as a solo developer, I don't run into this. I don't have that problem.
Lucky
Feedback
bastard.
issues. But do you run into that where, you know, you just end up watering everything down to this sort of mean rather than having one point of view really shine? You end up with a watered down middle ground.
So your question is, do you get the design by committee thing that, you know, everyone has their idea and then what you get is a weak compromise? And I don't think we get that in our team.
We actively work to not have that problem with us. We do, rather than designing by committee, we don't, it's not just only Staffan that's designer, and sometimes Staffan takes a design to a level, and then one of the other designers says, hey man, I have some ideas on how to improve this. And so Staffan gives him the Photoshop files or whatever,
Yeah.
and he starts working on it for a while, and most there hasn't been one time where it hasn't been better. not to diss Staffan, but and Staffan takes over other designs and improves on them. So instead of designing together all the time, you take it through iterations where you don't need to be the guy that does all the iterations. And we do the same with code though, as well. So you work for a while on a part, and then you say, oh, I'm taking this to a level where I'm confident that it's good enough. And then your colleagues look at it and says, I got a few ideas on how to make this better. I'll say, go for it, and it becomes better.
And I've seen designers get really protective of their own ideas, and it's my dream vision and it's handed from me from the skies, and it's mine and it's perfect and no one is screwing it up. But usually, as I said, the first design always fails, and that's my philosophy. And my take is, if I started a design and someone makes a slight improvement on it, I'm still going to get credit for the design. So in the end, like a year later, no one remembers the other guy who improved it. So, sir?
So I had another question. How do you guys, another challenge that we deal with every day is essentially moving from a dead pixel design world to a live pixel design world.
Yeah.
Brent Victor's work has been really, really, really influential since he designed pretty much 80% of iOS. And I think our teams are having a hard time retooling to really focus on animation. It's more important than the pixels in many places.
Yeah.
And how do you guys allow, how does Cascades help us out?
So the question is, you start out, usually the design artifact are dead or static, but much of the nice things about UI is in the animation and the stuff in between these screens. And so how does Cascades help with that? Cascade is rather helpful with that.
Can I answer?
Yeah,
Thank
you can answer.
There's a lot of, if you change values in the QML code on the properties of a controller, it will animate directly to, well, not directly, they will add an animation to it so that it looks nice. So a lot of the time you don't need to add animations. They're just there and they look good. But of course,
we're calling it implicit animations.
But you can do.
Those are real time. As I change the values in there, I'll be able to see in real time.
Yeah.
Because that's a big drawback in all the other SDKs.
Yeah.
That I have to
Yeah.
compile and see the most subtle tweaks in animation.
Well,
The implicit animations you don't change yourself. You can turn them off if you don't want them, but they're just there and they work. If you want to code your own animations, you do explicit animations, and there's lots of stuff you can do with them, and but you only need to add them to specific places where you want to highlight something.
And you don't actually see the animations in the preview.
No.
You see
Not
the
yet.
layout, but not the animations. You have to still compile to see the animations.
So it's a
in
huge
action.
drawback on this platform as well.
Yes.
Is the information readily available so that you could duplicate the implicit animation and then tweak that?
So you're asking if the secret implicit animation is open for everyone to copy, and I'm afraid it's not.
We haven't published recipes on how we do those. So, you, sir, I think you will have the last question.
Yeah, so I was just comment on the animation stuff. So as Staffan clarified, we don't have Cascades data where you can actually see the animation while you're moving. I can definitely see value and see that's how you really want to work. You're going in that direction. In TAT, we did have turnaround time was extremely fast using our character language. We do have a character language now as well. So what we saw was our designers usually starting up a simulator in less than a second, running animation and immediately stopping it. So that was like a step forward. So
Because if you're ever observed,
we're not there yet, but yeah, I definitely also.
because I've actually moved outwards and I actually emulate all my animations in motion or After Effects.
Yeah.
And do all the tweaking. Because I have to do literally maybe 100 to 500 tweaks before the animation is correct. And that would take all day in Joe.
Yeah.
Wait until the very back.
So,
Cool to hear you guys.
So I think there are some mandatory screens before we can leave you. I'm sorry there's so much text here. Join the roundtable for this session at 6 p.m. tonight in Exhibit Hall 1, and continue the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #BBJam and the session ID #JamX. So 07 perhaps? Okay. And don't forget to download the BlackBerry Jam America's Mobile Conference Guide from BlackBerry App World.
I think you have been to other sessions, right?
Okay, we can
Yeah,
skip
so
this
this
then.
is
So
all the
thank you.
information. Thank you. Thank you.